Do you ever wonder how Apple's biggest products are sometimes discovered not on a stage, not in a keynote, but hidden deep inside code that was never meant to be seen? Imagine a future Apple is quietly building behind closed doors. No marketing slides, no press releases, just raw clues buried inside an internal iOS build. Today's leaks are not small. They're not cosmetic. They point to a much bigger plan. A plan that could change how you track your stuff, how your home works, how your devices recognize you, and how Apple slowly tightens its ecosystem around your daily life. What you're about to hear is not speculation pulled from thin air. It's a story told by Apple's own code. And once you connect the dots, you'll realize this is one of the most important Apple leaks in years. Apple recently shipped an internal version of iOS 26 to a very limited group inside the company. These internal builds are completely different from public betas. They are messy. They are unfinished. They contain references to hardware that might be a year or two away. They're filled with code names, test flows, and features that never appear in release notes. Someone managed to see that build, and inside it were direct hints about products Apple has not announced yet. Not just software features, but real hardware. AirTag 2, a new smart home hub with a screen, a camera, and Face ID. A possible Apple security camera. And early signs of what Apple is planning for iOS 26, iOS 26 point updates, and even iOS 27. On their own, these leaks are interesting. Together, they tell a much bigger story. Let's start with something simple. Something you probably already own. AirTag. Apple's tiny tracker has quietly become one of the most useful products the company has ever made. Keys, bags, luggage, bikes, pets. People rely on these things every day. In the internal iOS 26 build, AirTag shows up again and again, and not in small ways. Apple is clearly preparing a second-generation AirTag. The first major change is the pairing process. Right now, pairing an AirTag is almost perfect. You pull the tab, it pops up on your iPhone. You tap Connect. That's it. So when Apple redesigns something that already works, it's usually because something bigger is changing underneath. The new code shows a completely reworked pairing flow. This could mean better support for families, easier setup when buying multi-packs, or smoother transfers when an AirTag changes owners. Think about handing your keys to someone else, or sharing luggage tracking with a family member. Apple doesn't change core flows without a reason. This is a sign the AirTag is becoming more flexible and more social, without losing simplicity. Battery information is the second big change. Today, AirTag battery status is basic. You see a small icon. You get a low battery warning. That's it. In iOS 26, Apple is preparing a much more detailed battery view. This could include percentages, estimated remaining time, or smarter alerts that warn you earlier. If you've ever had an AirTag die right before a trip, you know how frustrating that can be. For people who depend on AirTags for travel, work gear, or expensive equipment, this is a meaningful upgrade. The third change addresses one of the AirTag's biggest weaknesses: tracking moving objects. Precision finding works great when something is sitting still. But once it's moving, like a bag on a train or a car driving away, the experience falls apart. Updates lag. Locations jump. In the internal build, Apple is clearly working on improved precision finding for moving items. This suggests better update frequency, smarter smoothing, and more accurate tracking as objects move through space. That's not easy to do, especially using the Find My network. But Apple seems to be investing heavily here. The fourth improvement targets crowded places: airports, concerts, shopping malls, environments with hundreds of iPhones and thousands of Bluetooth signals. Today, AirTags can struggle in these places. The new code references better behavior in dense environments. This suggests Apple is tuning how AirTags communicate with nearby devices so they don't get lost in the noise. If this works, it could dramatically improve real-world tracking where people need it most. Here's the detail that makes this leak even more solid. Inside the same internal build, AirTag 2 is referenced with a name that strongly suggests a planned 2025 release window. That doesn't mean Apple will stick to that timing, but it confirms one thing clearly. AirTag 2 is real. It's not a rumor. It's not a guess. It's already deep enough into development to show up repeatedly in internal software. And yet, AirTag 2 is not even the most interesting part of this leak. Buried deeper in the same iOS 26 build are references to an entirely new kind of Apple device. Something designed for the home. Something that sits between a HomePod and an iPad. Something Apple has never officially acknowledged. This device appears to have a screen, a built-in 1080p camera, and Face ID. Let that sink in for a moment. A home device that can see you, recognize you, and respond differently based on who you are. Imagine walking into your kitchen in the morning. This device lights up. It scans your face. It knows it's you. Instantly, it shows your calendar, your reminders, your messages, your photos, your music. A few seconds later, someone else walks in. The screen changes. Different schedule, different notifications, different preferences. No tapping, no squeeching profiles, just Face ID. This is not just a smart speaker. This is a personal home hub. This idea lines up perfectly with what Apple has been doing with Siri and Apple Intelligence. Apple doesn't want Siri to just answer generic questions. They want it to understand context, to know who is speaking, to act on personal information securely. A Face ID-enabled home hub solves a massive problem. Identity. Suddenly, Siri can respond as you, not as a household default. It can read your reminders, adjust your smart home scenes, suggest actions based on your habits, and do it without mixing your data with someone else's. This also explains why Apple has been slow with smart home products compared to competitors. They weren't trying to catch up. They were trying to rethink the category. Privacy first, on-device recognition, tight integration with iPhone, Apple Watch, and HomeKit. This home hub looks like the hardware Apple has been waiting for to showcase the next generation of Siri. The same internal build also references a refreshed HomePod Mini. That suggests Apple isn't abandoning audio-only devices. They're expanding the lineup. But there's another mystery product that stands out even more. A device with the code name J229. This one is different. The code describes multiple sensors, the ability to recognize alarm sounds, and the ability to capture images. Those features point in one direction. A smart camera, possibly a security camera, possibly an indoor monitoring camera. Something designed to detect motion, recognize important sounds like smoke alarms, and capture images when needed. This would be Apple's first serious move into home security hardware. Picture how this could work inside Apple's ecosystem. A camera detects motion at your door. It captures an image. Your home hub lights up with a live feed. A package arrives. You get a notification on your iPhone, your Apple Watch, even your car. Or imagine you're away from home and a smoke alarm goes off. The camera hears it, flags it as critical, records what's happening, sends alerts instantly. All tied in a HomeKit, all processed with Apple's privacy standards. What's important here is that J229 has never appeared in previous leaks. This is new. It suggests Apple is actively building out a broader home lineup, not just updating existing products. And unlike many competitors, Apple would likely position this camera as privacy first, with local processing, encrypted video, and tight user control. Now let's shift to software, because hardware alone doesn't tell the full story. The same internal iOS 26 build quietly reveals where Apple is heading with its operating systems. Upgraded Siri with Apple Intelligence is everywhere in this code. Apple is clearly wiring in a more conversational assistant. One that understands context. One that can work across apps. One that can use your information securely to actually help you. This is not about flashy demos. It's about practical intelligence, making your devices work together better. Your iPhone, your home hub, your AirPods, all acting as one system. The Health app is also getting a major rethink. Right now, it's powerful but overwhelming. Too many graphs, too many categories, too much data that most people never touch. In the internal build, Apple is simplifying the layout, grouping information more clearly, making it easier to understand at a glance. On top of that, Apple appears to be preparing a health subscription service, something like Health Plus, and there are hooks for letting AI analyze your health data. This doesn't mean your data is being sent to random servers. It means you may be able to choose to let an AI look at your trends and explain them in plain language. Think about asking your phone to look at your last 6 months of sleep, workouts, and heart rate and tell you what's changing. Not to replace a doctor, but to help you understand your own body better. Apple's Password Manager is also getting more powerful. Today, it works well in Safari and system prompts. In iOS 26, Apple is expanding this so it can fill data inside third-party apps more reliably, possibly even triggered by Siri. This pushes Apple's built-in tools closer to dedicated password managers, without requiring extra apps or subscriptions. Freeform, Apple's whiteboard app, is finally getting folders. That might sound small, but for students, designers, and planners who use Freeform heavily, this is a big quality-of-life improvement. Organization matters. There are also signs of a new sports subscription tied to the Apple TV app. The internal build suggests Apple is preparing a more unified sports experience, possibly live games, advanced stats, premium coverage, all under one roof. Security is another major focus. Apple is adding extra verification before a device can sign into your Apple ID. The goal is simple. Even if someone gets your password or steals a device, it becomes much harder to take over your entire account. This is Apple doubling down on account protection. And yes, AirPods are getting attention too. Apple is working on more precise location tracking for lost AirPods, similar to the AirTag improvements. Anyone who has lost an AirPod in a couch or an airport knows how valuable that could be. Believe it or not, the leaks don't stop with iOS 26. Inside the same internal build are early markers for iOS 27. Two things stand out. First, the Photos app is getting smarter. Better auto-grouping, better organization, smarter surfacing of memories and trips. Apple is continuing to push Photos toward a more intelligent, less manual experience. Second, AirPods pairing is getting even smoother. Apple is obsessed with this, making connections faster, smarter, less likely to jump to the wrong device. Even when something already works, Apple keeps refining it. When you put all of this together, a clear picture emerges. AirTag 2 with better tracking, a Face ID-enabled home hub, a possible Apple security camera, smarter Siri with Apple Intelligence, a reimagined health app with AI analysis, stronger password tools, new sports content, tighter security, smarter photos, better AirPods integration. Apple isn't just updating products. It's building a tighter, more intelligent ecosystem. One where your devices know who you are, where you are, what you care about, and can quietly help you in the background, at home, on the go, across your entire digital life. My honest opinion? If even half of this ships as described, Apple's smart home strategy finally makes sense. They waited. They watched others rush in. And now they're positioning themselves to redefine the category with identity, privacy, and intelligence at the core. That's very Apple, and it could be extremely powerful. The big question now is which part of this future excites you the most? And which part worries you? Is it AirTag 2, the smart home hub with Face ID, the idea of an Apple camera watching your front door, or an AI that can analyze your health data and explain it to you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next leak. Because if Apple's internal builds are already showing this much, we've only scratched the surface.